Hey guys, it's John and Matt from Guaranteed Fitness. This is the second Guaranteed Fitness podcast of Awesomeness. We had some fantastic feedback from the first one the other day. So, without further ado, let's get on with it.
Welcome to the Guaranteed Fitness podcast of Awesomeness, where you'll discover hints, tips, and ideas on how to transform your lives and bodies, and how to become what you always wanted to be. With your hosts, Chief Ninjas, John the Guru Hall, and Matthew Can't Spell Nicholson.
Okay guys, we've got some exciting stuff for you on today's podcast. As before, we've got Ask John and Matt, we've got this week's thing, and we've got a fantastic interview coming up with Adele, who's one of our members at Guaranteed Fitness at Buxton. For those of you that read the emails, she's the one that is getting in shape to become a cosplayer model. So basically dressing up like superheroes and developing herself a superhero physique that goes with that. Before we get to that though, we've got Ask John and Matt. So I'll just play the funky little jingle for that.
Ask John and Matt.
Okay, Matt, what is this week's question?
This week's question is, why is anaerobic exercise more effective for burning fat than aerobic exercise? And that's from Jane Farnworth.
Fantastic. Cool. James, one of our members at Macclesfield. It's a great question because the whole low intensity versus high intensity exercise question is one we get asked a lot, and I fully understand why that is, because the majority of experts still tell people that low intensity cardio is the best way to lose fat. I don't know about you, Matt, but I remember the first time I walked into a gym at 16 years old, getting on a treadmill and looking at these little fat burning zone graphs and thinking, really? I have to work a really low intensity?
It's basically walking.
Yeah, I remember doing that. I was getting my first induction, and they were like, slow down, get me into a fat burning zone. And I just couldn't get my head around the fact that the easier it was, the better it was for fat burning.
Yeah, it didn't really make sense then. Still doesn't now.
Yeah.
Never will.
Just to let you guys know where that basic concept comes from, it's some research done in the late 30s, which showed, and this is true, that the lower intensity you're working at, the lower your heart rate is, the higher percentage of the calories you're burning are coming from fat stores. So that's true. So when you're asleep, pretty much all the energy you're using is coming from fat stores. But you're just not using very much energy. And I always remember my very first course, my fitness instructor course, February 2002, putting my hand up and saying, that might be true that it's a higher percentage, but would you not be better off burning, say, 1,000 calories, 50% from fat, versus 300 calories, 80% from fat? And they didn't have an answer for me. And no one since has had an answer. So I can appreciate low intensity is, as a percentage, a higher amount coming from fat stores. But anaerobic exercise, the more high intensity interval training, is miles better because, firstly, it burns more calories. And as we've said many times, it's not just calories in, calories out. It's to do with your hormonal balance and where that sends those calories. And all the research and just our own observations show that interval training, working more anaerobically, has a far bigger positive impact on your hormonal balance, and therefore make sure that you're able to release energy from fat stores for the rest of the week. So it's not just about what you're actually burning whilst you're exercising, although this anaerobic exercise is better at that, but it's also about what it causes the body to do for the rest of the week. Okay guys, it's time for this week's thing, and because Matt did such a fantastic job with a jingle last week, we decided against having an official professional jingle produced. Well, Matt's going to do it again this week, but Matt, can you give us a different thing of the week jingle to last time, please?
The thing of the week.
It wasn't quite as good as last week, but it was good. I like it. So Matt, what is this week's thing of the week?
Well, this week's thing, John, is the Christmas Damage Limitation Guaranteed Fitness book to basically help you not put on weight over the Christmas period.
That sounds awesome, Matt. Awesome. How do people get hold of that?
They go to the show notes at guaranteedfitness.co.uk and they can get it from there.
I was thinking actually, Matt, we were talking about this earlier, about throwing something extra in on top of that, because we've done similar things before, and we're always about progressing and offering more and more. I thought maybe you should do a webinar this year.
Sounds good. Let's do it.
Yeah, okay, guys. We'll need to sit down and confirm times and dates and all that, but by the time actually we send this podcast out, we'll have got that, so it'll be on those show notes at guaranteedfitness.co.uk, or if you're on the email series, you'll receive them through an email. We'll put on a free webinar at some point over the next week or so. For those who've never done webinars before, they're super cool. You basically join us on an online seminar. So we'll be running it, talking, presenting, showing you various things, but you can ask questions or just sit there and take it all in. But it's a brilliant, brilliant way to get new information. Okay, guys, the next bit is the main part of this podcast. It's that interview with Adele. As mentioned before, Adele is one of our members of Buxton. She's interested in getting to becoming a cosplay model, so wants to hone her physique to look like Lara Croft, Supergirl, Catwoman, all that sort of stuff. So on to today's interview. Hey guys, it's John and Matt. We're here with this week's interview, which is Adele. Adele is one of our new members over at the Buxton Arc, Arena of Real Change. For those of you that read the emails, we've mentioned Adele in a couple of emails over the last few weeks, and we've interviewed her for this podcast because we think she's got a really interesting story to tell. So, hey Adele, how are we doing?
I'm very well, thank you.
Good stuff. Can you share with the listeners at home a little bit about your story, where you've been before we met you, and so on?
Sure. Well, I'm a mum of 3 children. The youngest is 19 months, Jacob, and after having him, I had put on over 2 stone and was very unhappy with the way I looked and was trying just to lose that weight the best I could. I'd been to the gym, got a membership, and I'd got so far with it, but just wasn't looking the way I wanted to look.
Cool, good stuff. You guys might be able to hear in the background there, we've actually got Jacob in with us. Matt's entertaining him by throwing him foam balls at the moment.
You just threw it in the bin, so I had to get it out of the bin.
He threw it in the bin, bless. Cool. So Adele, there's a particular focus you're trying to achieve with your training, isn't it? It's a little bit of a different story to most people.
Yes. I actually want to be a cosplayer, which is dressing up as superheroes, film characters, comic book characters, that kind of thing. So, yeah.
I think that's absolutely awesome. It's nice to hear different people's stories, and it's also great to hear the thing behind the weight loss, because weight loss is generally what people say they want when they first come in, but actually what they mean by that is often very different things. For some people it's to be able to play football with the kids, for some it's to not get out of breath going up flights of stairs. For Adele, it's to do the cosplay thing, which I think is fascinating. So you mentioned a few things that you've done in the past, Adele, and that got you so far, but not all the way. What would you say it's about those things that didn't get you the results you wanted?
I think really for me, when I got to the gym, I was just I paid my money and I was left to my own devices, and I didn't really know what to do. I had an idea that I could get on the cross trainer and do a bit, and I thought if I get my heart rate up, then that's right. And it worked to a point because I was quite overweight. I did lose some weight, but what I really needed was advice on diet, advice on what kind of exercises are going to get the look that I'm looking for the cosplay. So I needed some help with weight training and things, and there just wasn't a help there at the gym.
Cool. A couple of great points you made there, Adele. First thing I'd say is for anyone out there that's not doing anything at the moment, taking that first step and just doing something is better. Like Adele mentioned, the options she was doing before got her so far, so it got her more than doing nothing. So definitely just taking that first step is a great idea. But really, if you want to maximise your chance of results in anything, working with some sort of expert is definitely something we'd recommend. On recent blogs, Matt and I have mentioned that we work with media and business coaches who help us develop what we're delivering at Guaranteed Fitness. Because for a small investment, we can get fantastic amounts of knowledge and experience and get straight to where we want to get to, rather than feeling our way in the dark and getting there. Same with people when they're looking to lose weight, tone up and get fit. Not saying necessarily need to come and join us, but take some sort of expert advice. You can join a membership site on a website, you can get yourself a one-to-one trainer, you can look at other options, but the doing it by yourself option will get you so far, but ultimately getting expert advice and support from someone who's an expert in that field will always get you there quicker. So Adele, you've been coming for, is it 6 weeks now?
Yeah.
Awesome. And what changes have you seen in that time?
Gosh, loads. For me, the belly fat has reduced loads. I mean, that was really good. I've just toned up loads, got loads more energy. The diet as well has been fantastic. I'm really enjoying that, and the way that I feel, I'm not so bloated.
That's definitely a thing we see quite early on is a change in bloatedness. a lot of our initial research when we set up Guaranteed Fitness showed to us that men as well, but particularly women, have high levels of bloatedness when they first start. And a lot of that is down to following the standard Western society's definition of a healthy diet. It's all really high starches, porridge and cereal for breakfast, lots of bread, all that sort of stuff often leads to a lot of stodginess. So when we recommend a few of the changes we do, bloatedness is massively reduced. I think we have a 47% reduction in bloatedness in the first 28 days. So what advice might you give to someone at home, Adele, someone who's looking to start to transform their lives? What might you say to them?
Definitely just start doing something, whether it's looking at your diet, whether it's getting out walking. If you've got kids like me, just get to pushing the buggy around, do something to start off with. But
yeah, definitely just getting going. I mentioned in the last podcast that journey of 1,000 miles, it starts with a single step. It's always easier to keep going once you've got started than it is to get started in the first place. So let's just run through a few specifics, Adele. What sort of things were you normally eating for like breakfast, dinner and tea before we started with you?
It was cereals in the morning. Shreddies is a favourite in our family. Then it was sandwich, lunch, and then I like to do a lot of cooking, so I did a lot of home cooking. So pies and things like that. What's classed as a healthy, what people say is healthy. They eat cereal, have sandwich. I wasn't going mad on sausage rolls and things, and cakes.
Mm-hmm. And what changes have you made to that now then?
Completely different. Because I'm doing a lot of weight training now, it's high protein for me. I've got no bread, no potatoes, no pasta, no rice, so none of the sort of processed carbohydrates. So I get all my carbohydrates from vegetables now, fruit. So it's loads of meat, fruit.
Awesome, yeah, lots of nice,
nuts,
natural, healthy stuff there. That sounds great.
Nothing processed, no sugar.
Interesting point you made there about the high protein as well. Really, what we recommend and what you're doing, we refer to more of a balanced diet. I think, unfortunately, in our society, we've got this thing that if you reduce your carbs, then you're going low carb or no carb. If you increase your protein, you're going high protein. What I'd actually say is that most people start with a super high carb diet and a very low in proteins and healthy fats. And by addressing that balance, I don't consider it high anything. It's that balanced diet of all three. But unfortunately, like I said, the media's definition of all these things makes us think about it that way.
Yeah.
Also, another interesting thing you said there was you're doing weight training or resistance training, as we call it. Now, there's a misconception that women think when they lift a weight or do a push-up, they're going to get big and bulky. Now, do you personally feel big and bulky after doing any type of resistance training?
Absolutely not. I'm a big believer in doing weight training. For me, it's been fantastic, and I've had a lot of friends and colleagues at work say, "Oh, you're going to end up looking like Arnold Schwarzenegger," which it's just not going to happen,
No.
It is funny when people say that, because ultimately as a woman it's very difficult. I mean, it's difficult as a man to gain muscle. If it was as easy as it sounds to look like Arnie, I'd have been looking like that for the last 10 years.
Yeah, exactly.
For a woman, they have a fraction of the growth hormone, testosterone that men do. When you see these pictures of female bodybuilders, they are injecting themselves with male hormones basically to look like that. And the type of training they do with weights as well would be very different. Their diet would be different. The type of weight training you do and your natural hormone balance means that you're not going to put any muscle size on, but you're going to tone up, increase your energy and recovery and so on. One point particularly with you, Adele, obviously you've got 3 children. How have you found the changes that you've made fitting and around all that sort of stuff?
Not only have I got 3 children, but I also work 12-hour shifts. So time is a big factor for me, or lack of it. To be honest, the sessions are only an hour, and you can find an hour out of your day if you manage it right. I mean, I'm very lucky. I've got my partner who's happy to look after the children while I go out. But I think most people have got a family member that can look after the kids for an hour, maybe 3 times a week.
Yeah, that's a great point you made there, Adele. It's about finding and making the time. We mentioned that in the last podcast, that time, I'm actually going to write an article about this next week. I think time is almost the excuse we're taught from a young age to give for not doing things. Like, for example, if someone invites me to something and I don't want to go, I'll just say I don't have time. It's sort of the excuse we're told and taught to use. But actually, when you break it down, it's quite interesting, actually, that we do have the time. It's just how we choose to spend it. As I've mentioned before, there's 168 hours in the week, and people run international companies, countries on that sort of time. And I'm not saying we need to go to that sort of levels, but generally when you look at what you're doing with your time, you can free up those 2 or 3 or 4 hours in the week that you need to do something. And getting support's a massive thing as well. A lot of people feel guilty about asking for help, but you've obviously got someone at home there that can help out the kids. If people listen don't have that obvious bit of support, ask. There might be someone in your life who can help with that, and in turn you can do something for them that helps them out. So an obvious question as well, Adele, is how have the kids responded to these changes you've been making?
My older children, my girls are 16 and 9, and they're really impressed with what I'm doing. And in fact, the 9-year-old's like a champion for me, and every time I do go for some food that's not perhaps good for me, she sort of gives me the look and says, come on, Mummy, you know what you want to do, and this isn't good for you. So she's brilliant. She keeps me going on the right path, and the eldest actually wants to follow in and do the same thing as me. So
that's awesome. I love that. So that's great that not only have you made positive changes in your own life, but you've done stuff that's going to impact your children's present and their future as well, which is great stuff. One thing I've found a lot over the years, Adele, is that often when people become parents, they feel guilty about spending that, not just money, but time on themselves. How have you found that?
Yes, absolutely. I spent a lot of time debating whether or not to spend money on a gym or seeing a professional about losing weight and getting fit, because it's money that I'd be taking away from other things, taking the children out maybe. There was a lot of guilt attached to that, I suppose. But then I thought about what I could gain from being fitter and healthier, and how that could help not just me but the children as well. The fact that I could take them places, go places, and run around and play with them and keep going. And you know, Jacob's got loads of energy, so I need to keep up with him. I can
tell, bless him. He's a little dynamo, bless him.
Yeah.
He's running Matt ragged at the moment. Yeah.
So, and also, it's about spending money wisely, because I could spend money at the gym just on a normal membership and not get anywhere, and keep spending that money year after year and not actually getting better. Whereas if I spent money on the right thing, then I wouldn't have to necessarily spend quite so much, because I get the results in a shorter time.
Yeah, definitely, I agree.
So, it made more sense.
I love the way as well that you're seeing it now essentially as an investment. The time and the money you're putting into what you're doing is giving you more time with the kids, better quality of time, hopefully will lead to a longer life as well. That's a massive thing for me as a parent myself. I want to be around for as long as possible with the kids, the grandkids, maybe even the great grandkids thereafter. And any investment I put in, not just financially, but time and effort and what have you, now I'll hopefully be reaping the rewards in 10, 50, 60 years, which is you will be the same. One thing I find particularly interesting as well about the whole investing money in it is that, generally speaking, pretty much everyone I've ever worked with, the money has been there. And I'm not, again, trying to make this about selling us, but the money has been there to do something, to, even if it's just join a gym or go to a slimming club, to do something that's going to help them. It's how they choose to invest it. And our society is such that no one really bats an eyelid if someone goes out and spends £50 in a bar of an evening. That's seen as a normal thing. But how have you found reactions have been to you investing this money in yourself?
Mainly from family. My mum in particular, she sort of has said to me things like, that money you could get something for the kids with, or take them out on a trip somewhere or whatever. And it has kind of made me feel a bit guilty about it at first. But like you say, if I was a smoker maybe, or if I went out drinking, I don't think she'd probably bat an eyelid about that, because she's a smoker herself, or was up until very recently. And she could justify that, and it wasn't sort of, society didn't sort of look at her badly for having a cigarette.
I do find it fascinating that it is more socially acceptable to spend the children's money on alcohol and nicotine than it is to spend it on yourself. Which really, when you think about it, when you hear about it, that's crazy. When you're investing it in having a longer and better quality life, that's surely the best possible thing you can do with it. But again, it's just the way our society is. Awesome, Adele. I think we've covered pretty much everything that we were going to do there today. I'd say the biggest take homes for you guys listening at home there is whatever you want to do, and again, I don't want this to be a selling guarantee fitness thing, whatever you want to do, whether it be a health related thing or business, it's get expert help. Invest, it doesn't have to be a lot of money, but invest some time and money in getting advice, direction on the best possible way to achieve what it is that you want to achieve in your life. So, Adele, thanks for your time today, and Jacob, well done for not making too much noise and not wearing Matt out too much. So thanks for your time, Adele.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, I hope you found that interview interesting, informative. There's some ideas there. So just quick recap there. Today we had this week's thing of the week was the Christmas damage limitation ebook, which we're actually going to throw in a bonus webinar with that as well. This week's question was about how and why anaerobic exercise is more effective from a fat burning perspective than low intensity cardiovascular exercises. And really, guys, that's it for today. The next week's episode is we're going to be interviewing Fran and Jeremy, who are a couple of members at Guaranteed Fitness Macclesfield. A little bit of a different sort of angle we're coming out with this one, because Fran and Jeremy are a couple. They've been married for, I believe, 6 years. So we're going to talk a little bit about how they do things together as a couple and the changes it's made to their lives. But for now, and we're coming up again to my favourite jingle, thanks again, guys. We'll see you next week.
Thank you for listening to John and Matt talk nonsense today. See you next time.